Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very, very special guest, Ben. Ta-da!
Thank you for having me. It's quite an honour.
Thank you for being here during your lunch break, a 24-minute lunch break. Let's go. So, Ben, what's your 1-minute introduction about what you do?
Well, as you can see by my shirt, I work at KPMG alongside Karen. I am in the tech services department, so I work on the tech zone desk, helping out when people have issues. I'm working as a mobility SME as well, so I've been doing a bit of stuff in the Apple and mobility space, and mobiles, and how that all factors into the business.
Wow, that Apple stuff, I didn't know about that. We will explore that a bit more. So, Ben, we really want to go from the beginning. So, what kind of child were you like growing up?
In the beginning.
Whoa.
I was fairly normal as far as my parents would describe, I'd imagine.
Disappointed.
Yeah, I know. It's very stable upbringing, both parents. Little sister went to public school in primary, and then secondary school I went to private. I went to a school on the south side, Cannon Hill Anglican College. And then shortly thereafter I came to university, studied at QUT for 3.5 years, studying IT, which I greatly enjoyed. I really focused in on the business aspect of IT, much less the more programming side of things. So I have a more business-minded mind, I suppose, than more technical. So yeah, then after uni, or during uni I should say, I had a couple of jobs, mainly in retail and service industry. Worked at Event Cinemas for a bit, and then I worked at JB Hi-Fi, both sort of in line with my interests outside of professional development. And then shortly thereafter I managed to get a job at KPMG, and that's it, basically. It's my sort of boilerplate version of my life.
Nice. And then we're going to take Ben's story one step at a time.
Yeah.
So I want to know about what was your personality in high school and in primary school, and what kind of hobbies did you have?
Reserved. In a word, I was very reserved. I had a very close-knit group of friends. I'll just skip to high school because primary school wasn't particularly eventful. I had a close-knit group of friends, which sort of expanded a little bit in senior year. Throughout that time, we sort of just hung out at the lunch table playing cards. So we were known as the card sharks, apparently, knowing after the fact. I really quite enjoyed my IT subject because we had an ITS subject, and business as well. Those two subjects I did really well in. I also really was interested in modern history. So more contemporary stuff that lasts the 20th century and a little bit after that. Well, 21st, 20th century. Really interested in that sort of stuff. And my interest outside of school, I played a lot of games, mostly with my friends, as you might be able to imagine. Being in IT, I'm a bit of a nerd.
Wow, surprise!
Surprise. So I have been playing video games since I was very young. Maybe 8 or 9 years old, and been sort of playing all the games that I can. Lots of competitive, lots of casual, just in general. Yeah.
Nice. And how do your parents feel about you gaming? Ooh.
They're okay with it. It's probably not what they would have expected me to do, but also given I'm a sort of carbon copy of my dad. He wouldn't expect me to go out and do sports, that sort of thing.
Oh, was your dad a nerd as well?
In the same sort of vein as me. He to quote Darth Vader, "I am what you made me." He is literally he's sort of the biggest effect on my life, I would say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And what kind of profession did your dad pursue?
He is working in sort of architecture and industrial design. So he did a lot of industrial art pieces. So if you've ever been to Sydney for the Vivid Art Festival and the Lighton Art Festival, he's done a number of installations for Vivid. He most recently, and probably his biggest project to date, was the Qantas Founders Museum up in Longreach. They recently had a sort of refurbishment of their sort of big plane. I think it's the A380. A380. and they did projection work on that. So they had a bunch of industrial-sized projectors projecting a whole sort of slideshow, as it were. I say slideshow, it's very reductive for what it actually is. They were able to change like the skin on the aircraft by just projecting light onto it, and they had a whole show dedicated to it as well. It's really good stuff. So that's the sort of work he does. And he's incredibly smart, incredibly witty, and his interest and his sharp sense of everything. Like, you can ask him basically about anything and be able to tell you something about it.
Wow.
There's very,
like
very
Wikipedia.
few subjects. A little bit, yeah. Very few subjects he doesn't know at least something on. So, yeah, that sort of shaped me to be very academic-minded and sort of pushing through school and enjoying those subjects and getting to know the world, as it were, at least from an industrial standpoint and a sort of academic standpoint.
Nice, but then you ended up choosing IT. Did you want to, I don't know, like how to sort of encapsulate your dad's career in one word. Is there a nice word that fits what he does? Light sky.
It's not a word. No, it's...
engineers?
No. He's...
architect?
Well, architect was the firm. He was working for an architecture firm.
Yeah.
But his job title was senior associate.
Not very descriptive.
No. Oh God, he's going to kill me if he sees this. No,
Don't worry, you can ask him when you get home.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sorry about that, Dad. So, but like a lot of people, like especially when you admire someone, you generally want to follow in their footsteps. So, did you sort of like consider doing what he did, or were you
God,
just...
no. No, I though he says he enjoys his work, and he still does, it has led to a lot of stress and anxiety. And throughout my life, I've seen him bring work home a lot of the time.
Yeah.
In IT, you don't really, or at least in my role in IT now, I don't really have that opportunity or that compulsion to bring work home with me. I have the on-call pass when I have to attend to any emergencies that come out during or outside of work hours, when I have to come to the office at like midnight to fix a server or something, or have someone let someone in to fix a server, I should say. But that's not the same thing as bringing a whole brief home and having to work on it until like 2 a.m. in the morning, which is a lot of the time what he does, or not necessarily a brief, but just work in general.
Yeah.
So, and besides, I wasn't very artistically minded. I'm much more sort of analytical than artistic. So, I was more focused on the sort of technical aspects of what he does and the computer programs and bits and pieces like that of what he uses. So I quite enjoyed design classes at school, like actually doing the sort of working with the computer programs. I did a bit of SAP stuff, if I recall correctly, and some animation. But where I really hit my stride was just the business side of IT and suggesting solutions for that. And later down in the line with uni, I quite enjoyed like consulting and stuff like that. That sort of subjects I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you were to describe your passion for IT, how would you describe it? What do you love about IT?
Ooh, I really quite like how IT helps people. Really, like it's hard to describe in a single word, but basically it's just the utility it has and the power and the potential towards helping just everyone in general, like the elderly, and how like the fall attention bracelets, that sort of thing, like that can really assist in saving someone's life and keeping track of your medical records and safety and military and all sorts of things. It has a bajillion applications throughout the world, and the way it has interwoven with society now, both good and bad, it's very reflective on how we perceive the world. So it's very reflective, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. A very powerful tool for good or evil.
Yeah.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely indeed.
Yeah. And so what about in terms of, did your parents have any career expectations for you? Like, pursue X, Y, Z when you're at uni?
No, not really. I initially, before I started uni, or before I even went into uni, I had aspirations of becoming a game designer, because I loved games so much. And after looking at the sort of prerequisites for it, lots of programming, lots of coding, I was like, I don't have the mind for that.
Yeah.
So I pivoted to more IT, and that I did have more of a mind for. And not so much the programming side, but the business side, which is what I ended up enjoying, like I said. But my parents didn't really have an expectation of me as to what they wanted me to do, which is a fairly modern interpretation on raising children, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same goes for my younger sister. She hasn't got any expectations on what she's supposed to do. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Free-range kids.
As it were, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy your IT degree? Were there like an expectations versus reality sort of gap?
The one big expectation versus reality that I hit upon when I entered doing the degree was back when I went to do the sort of initial research on what I wanted to do, and at university going to the QT Open Day, that sort of thing. Went into the sort of IT description. One of the students and some of the faculty were giving a description on what the IT degree was, and like the first thing the student, when they got up to speak, said was, "Do Maths B, it'll really help." Went into the degree, having passed everything I needed to do, got an OP8 and entered, giving its level was OP11 at the time, I think. So one of the first rounds I got through, which I was happy with. But entered the degree, and not once did I ever need to use Math B. I was like,
oh, should have done Maths A.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it helped with my score to get me in, but it was like actually using it, never needed to.
Really? I'm surprised.
Well, like I said, I was doing more business side IT than programming, so I'd imagine if I was doing more programming side, that would come into play more.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. And tell me about so did you generally work and also study alongside? Or?
Yeah. So when I first started my degree, I got a job at Event Cinemas as a runner, just sort of basic retail stuff.
So were you selling the tickets at the front?
No. So I was taking food in and out of the cinema for gold class.
Wow, the rich people.
The rich and famous, yeah.
But what kind of food was on offer other than the standard popcorn and ice cream?
They're like chips and like meals basically.
Oh,
it's like if you've been to gold class, it's quite fancy.
Never been.
There's an affordable one at Hawthorne. It's quite good.
Okay, put that on my bucket list.
So I was doing gold class running, did that for a couple of months, and then when uni resumed, sort of kept doing that for a bit, and then after I was like, well, I need to get some more money. I went for a job at JB Hi-Fi, and I got a storeman position, so I was out the back doing like stock processing and also faulty equipment, so like running them up and sending them away for repair and replacement, that sort of thing, which is where I got more in tune with like business level IT, using their sort of systems like SolveUp, which is the system they use for faulty products, which, knowing what I know now, is minuscule in comparison to the software that we use here for when we need to log tickets in general. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So how do you like those two jobs, Event Cinemas versus JB Hi-Fi?
Well, JB Hi-Fi did have a pretty good staff discount.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it wasn't a specific, like flat, like 20% off everything. It was like department by department, release by release. So you wouldn't be able to get like anything off a brand new console, but off like a DVD that's been there for a couple of years, you can get it for like a couple of dollars in comparison to like the 15 or 16.
Suddenly very popular with your friends, no?
I was actually. One of the I was very happy to offer it to my friends, but towards the end I was like, okay, you're just pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Aww. But yeah.
Cool. And about Event Cinemas, how was that experience? Did you get any like very rude customers, or is it very mild? Don't remember much.
I don't remember much. I do remember getting to see Black Panther early. That was cool. Because Marvel movie, spoilers, etc. So they sent us to Macrobat like a week or two before it came out.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's like given the fact you'll be going into the cinemas to do this, we want the staff to actually see the movie ahead of time so they don't get spoiled. I got to see Black Panther for free, which is cool.
Any movie ticket discounts? No?
If you were there long enough, you could, but I only was there for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then tell me about applying to KPMG.
It was the first job I applied for post-graduation, which was quite surprising. And yeah, I was quite interested in everything. Like after I got the interview, I was like, okay, what's KPMG? Because I wasn't very tuned into sort of
I feel you.
this financial firm and everything. So it being one of the big four, being a very established brand, sort of drew me to it when I was in the interview process. And my now boss, Maurice, was interviewing me at the time, as well as my sort of grand boss, I like to call him, that's Stuart. And went through a couple of interview rounds and yeah, got the job. And I was really pleased when I got here to see that everything was operating fairly smoothly, and there's still stuff for me to do and get to know and learn. It was really good.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me more about the interview process. What was that like? How did they sort of test you per se?
Well, there was a test.
Oh. Psychometrics, did you have to do that?
No.
Oh, lucky.
But I know of. It was more like testing your technical acumen and your, like it's like three parts: your sort of personality, your technical knowledge, and your sort of customer service skills. So coming from JB Hi-Fi and being in that sort of customer service role where I basically only come across people that were like pissed off, saying like, "Oh, like this thing's broken, fix it."
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So it's like de-escalation and calming them down, saying, okay, so this is what we can do, this is what I'm going to do for you now, I'll talk to a manager, do this, that and the other. So one of the things Maurice pulled out of the bag straight out of the bat was like the fact that you mentioned like making sure the customer is aware of what's happening and is calmed. That's one of the best things you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I wasn't expecting to do particularly well with the technical side of things because, like I said, it was more business side IT than sort of more coding and back end of the actual programs. So he sort of picked me out as more of a business service side than sort of programming side. And then there's this personality thing, so just making sure that I'd be a good fit for the team, which at the time was himself, Maurice, and Satu, who's since moved on into the security department, and Raphael, who's in AVVC on level 16.
Wow, cool. And how was the competition for this job? I feel like not many people, it's like sort of...
I don't know. I think Maurice mentioned that there was 5 or 6 other candidates.
Nice.
At the time, so yeah, it wasn't particularly strong, but coming straight out of university, I may have had an unintended advantage being sort of new, and they could sort of mould me more specifically as to what they wanted, lest they have to sort of break down someone that has come from a different position and dealt with different things. Being greener means you can sort of grow in the direction they want you to.
Yeah, wow, and doing well so far.
Yeah. After a year, I've managed to get myself a bit of a promotion. Went from a thank you. Went from a technology service consultant to analyst, which is pretty good. Not a whole lot of extra roles, just sort of more expectations on like continuing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm also curious about how you decided to apply for this as your first job, right? Because a lot of people, they probably might apply for some kind of graduate program. Is that true?
Well, I'd sort of missed the window with graduate programs, really. During my degree, my mum was like, oh, you should be looking at graduate roles. I was like, I will. And just completely forgot about it.
Games.
It's a little bit, yeah, a little bit of that.
Any regrets?
Not really.
Oh.
Not really. Like I ended up here, didn't I?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how things have shaken out. So I got through the interview process, and I'm here. I've been here for a year, or just over a year now, and got the SME position, sort of more of a side thing than an actual position. But
yeah, tell me more about that.
Oh well, it's just a bunch of technology service people throughout the country. I've got one in Canberra, basically one in every major office, and 2 in Melbourne, I think. But together with our sort of lead, we're sort of discussing more about Apple devices, specifically MacBooks, and how they can be integrated into the firm a bit later. So eventually down the line, new starters will have the choice between like Windows devices and Apple devices.
Wow, at KPMG?
Yes.
Wow, very nice.
So that's probably going to be some point next year, maybe, depending on how the pilot program goes. But in tandem with that, we also have to make sure that our service staff, i.e. tech zones, are able to support that, because recently we've had a bit of an exodus of staff with technical knowledge of Apple devices. So we're looking to sort of reinvigorate that interest in Apple and make sure that our staff are aware of how to support it if things go wrong.
That's cool. And how did you sort of end up in that kind of role?
Well, I was doing a lot of...
Something you applied separately?
No. This is just offered straight to me. So I had been doing a lot of troubleshooting with mobility, specifically mobility, not so much Macs, but there were some issues with mobile devices, and I was doing a lot of troubleshooting with that with one of my colleagues in Canberra, and he must have put my name forward to the lead, saying, I think Ben's been doing a lot of helping with this particular thing. I think we should bring him in. And so the lead would have spoken to my team lead and said, hey, can we bring him in to sort of assist with a subject matter expert's role, as it were, or the subdivision. And he gave the green light. So she rang me and we had a chat, and she was happy to give it to me. So I was like, yep, cool.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
Serendipity.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And tell me a day in the life of Tech Zone.
So I'm on the early shifts.
Good on you.
8 till 4:30. I mean, I'm up at like 5.
Wow, why?
Well, I tend to... No, I live out at nearby to Carindale, if you know where that is. And being here at Riverside, I can sort of take the train. So I drive to a train station, then to South Bank, and then walk the rest of the way. So instead of going over the Goodwill Bridge like you would expect most sane people to do, I walk down to the Victoria Bridge, and then across, and then along the QT side of the river to
I think
Riverside.
someone's going to stalk you from listening to this.
Maybe.
So
maybe.
feel free. This is Ben Rawson.
It's hard to miss me. I've got technology services on my shirt, on my sleeve. Feel free to introduce yourself. Yeah, and then so I have about an hour of walking time, which helps sort of offset the amount of time I'm sitting in the office.
Oh, that's good.
And then when I get to the office, I set up. Usually on a Monday morning, it's when new starters start rocking up. So we usually get maybe 5 or 6 new starters a week.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a lot.
Well, yeah, but it's not all concentrated in the one division. It's all sort of spread out.
Yeah.
And like when grad season comes, that's kind of our sort of apocalypse.
Yes.
With like 100-something new starters in the same day. But yeah, so come to the office, make sure their laptops are set aside for when they arrive, and then it's on a Monday morning. And then when they arrive, sort of go through the spiel, like this is your laptop, password, charger, headset, this is what you do with it. Then throughout the day, it's just sort of going through my ticket queue, seeing what jobs are open, what jobs are still in monitoring, checking in on those. Also just maintaining business relationships with key stakeholders like directors and personal assistants. Like I have a long-running segment where I have a meeting with them every quarter. I think it's a quarterly. So we'd sort of check in with them and make sure that any needs that they haven't raised with us specifically, we can have raised there in that sort of forum, so they can sort of discuss amongst themselves, say, okay, this is an issue we need to have looked at by IT, just in regard to their directors and partners and the people they service. So maintaining those relationships with key stakeholders is very important. And then TechZone Brisbane also services the Gold Coast. So once every week, one of us will go down to the Gold Coast on a Wednesday, and we just make sure that office is sort of tended to. Any odd jobs they need doing from an IT standpoint is taken care of. And then more recently, we've also had to be. I've more recently had to be helping out with the Townsville sort of setup. So more so just their staffing these days, but when the office itself becomes operational outside of the temporary space they've got. They'll actually hire someone to be up in Townsville, so they don't have to send one of us up there every couple of months. Not that that's happened yet, but I'm fully expecting it to happen at one point or another. So I have lots of contact with the person up there. She's very nice, and just making sure they have computers for their new starters, because they have starters there. They had, I don't know, 10 or 15 in the past 2 months, which is sort of on track with a decent growth rate. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of day to day.
Yeah, cool. Does it get repetitive? Do you get bored, Ben?
I plead the fifth. I don't think I should answer that. No. There's always something to do, and if there's nothing to do, then you can do some training, or you can sort of brush up on your, like just do one of the other things I mentioned, like chatting to an important stakeholder, just sort of not even necessarily maintaining a business relationship, just a relationship in general, just having a chat with them, seeing what they've been doing recently, plans for the weekend, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always something to do.
So Monday's like your peak season, and then Friday it's pretty.
It's a little bit more cruisy on a Friday, as you might expect for Fridays in general. But we also have exiting staff on Friday, so I've got a list of people that are joining and people that are leaving in that week. So I have an expectation of who's coming to see us, and so making sure they've given us their assets, their computer and charger, etc. Whatever else they have to give back to us. Making sure they come along, get their stuff back and move on, and then process that. So those machines are set aside to be sent away to Lenovo for them to reprofile and redeploy elsewhere. Yeah. So it's a bit of a cog in the wheel sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good. Now we're getting into the deep questions. So Ben, what do you think the meaning of life is?
42.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
It's difficult. Biologically speaking, just keeping the population sustainable. But from a more personal perspective, just living life, traveling, meeting new people, having new experiences, being social, sort of meeting the requirements of the human animal. It's more basic, I suppose, but yeah, I don't know. It's
good stuff.
Yeah. How about you? What's your meaning of life?
Well, we don't have time for that because we're really at the...
All right.
So, Ben, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do differently about your life? I mean, you might not work. We will not talk too much about that.
No. I think if I won the lottery tomorrow, what would I do? Probably find a place of my own, settle down, just more of the same, really. Just keep going to work, have a parachute, as it were, just in case the worst comes to pass.
Wow, and you jump off your apartment?
No. Sorry, no. A metaphorical parachute. Okay. So in case I were to lose my job or the world decides to implode, that sort of parachute, financial parachute, not physical parachute.
I was worried for a second.
Yeah. Or parachuting. It's sort of extreme sports.
Yeah, it could be.
Might go to that.
Yeah. And then, so final question is, what is an ideal day in the life for you? If you could, fill it with anything you want.
I mean, I've had quite a few just solid gaming days, which have been pretty nice.
Wow, is it like a 9-to-5 gaming sesh?
Try 12 to 12.
Oh, wow, on another level.
No, it's yeah, I live a pretty decent life. I have a good amount of friends that I should be talking to more, and a lot of my friends are fairly antisocial in general, so the time I get to spend with them I'm quite appreciative of. And through gaming I've made quite a few friends overseas, so I suppose ideally I could spend some time in person with someone that I've met overseas, just to get to know them more on a one-on-one personal level, not so much over cyberspace, as it were.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And the very final question, inspiration from one of my friends. She's like, why do guys like gaming so much? Can you please explain? She's like, why can't guys just like nature?
I mean, quite a few of us do, but I think it just allows us to explore worlds at our own pace through simpler mechanics. So this world, you have to deal with a lot of different stuff. You have to deal with like travel guides and rules and regulations and health guidance and all this sort of stuff. Whereas in the virtual world, you can sort of go wherever you want. You can go to space. You can, explore the deep seas, be a pirate, do whatever you want. It's sort of the ultimate expression of both storytelling and world building and exploration. So, you have those gamers that tend to just stick with like the soccer game or the football game or, that sort of thing, which is, I wouldn't classify it as gaming as I would just an experience of a pastime. Gaming for me is more experiential with a story. So I quite like new IP that comes out, like Horizon Zero Dawn, that was completely fresh and new. The Spider-Man game's been really good. While not necessarily a new IP, it was a new interpretation, and that was really good. So just exploration of different worlds. In the same way guys love movies and sort of nerdy stuff like that, it's sort of a higher level of that.
Yeah, wow, that was beautiful, Ben. So we're going to end the podcast here. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Bye.
See ya.